everybody. I'm Kay Helm, and this is the Your Voice podcast. Find your voice, tell your story, change the world. Each week, I interview someone about the way in which they live or tell their story. And this week, my guest is Aurora Gregory. Aurora is a business marketing coach. She's built marketing strategies for some of the biggest names in business for more than 25 years. She's a big believer in the power of public speaking as a business building tool. She co-authored the book Get Picked, Tips, Tricks, and Tools for Creating an Irresistible Speaker Proposal. Aurora, welcome to the show.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here with you.
We met at the Launch Out conference this past summer. You were a great encouragement. We were talking before we started recording that you were sitting in the middle of the room, on the aisle, right in the center. And I know as I stepped off, I was speaking in front of an audience that was a new type of audience for me. And when I looked up, you were right there in the middle of the room with your thumbs up. And it was a great encouragement. And I thought later about that you had positioned yourself to encourage other people. And I just think that says a lot about you.
Oh, thank you. Launch Out was a great event. And I was so glad that we got to meet in person because, there's a big benefit to having that in real life connection. So I was really glad that we were able to do that. And now look at us. Here we are doing your show together. I'm excited.
You've said that you hate watching entrepreneurs struggle with connecting with customers and sharing what they need to offer.
I do. One of my challenges, I guess, as a person who makes observations is watching people do things that cause them stress or that bring about struggle. And if there's a way that I can bring something that makes their job easier, that can end that struggle, well, then I'm all about that. I love being able to come alongside someone and say, hey, there's an easier way to do that. And helping them have that light bulb come on so that they can make that happen. So with entrepreneurs and marketing, so often I think that word marketing is such it's kind of a mysterious word and they're not exactly sure what to do with it. So they kind of just throw everything that they know about marketing and they just kind of throw it out there, and it's stressful and they struggle and they're not sure why their customers aren't connecting with them, why their businesses aren't growing. And I love being able to come alongside them and help them understand, like, okay, this is who your customer is. Mm-hmm. And so this is what they need to hear from you. And this is how they need to hear it. And if you'll just do these things, well, then it won't be such a struggle and you'll build those connections and relationships with your customers. And guess what? They'll come and buy stuff from you. And so that's what I love to do for entrepreneurs. And one of the ways that they can do that is using public speaking. So, we talked all about that at Launch Out, and certainly, had the pleasure of writing a book about it. So I love being able to talk a little bit about that as well, because it's not something that's normally thought of as a marketing tool. And yet I love it as a marketing tool.
Yeah, it is powerful. And you talked too about the power of story, which is really, public speaking is really where the chance you get the space to use story to connect with people. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
It's so true. One of the reasons I love public speaking as a marketing tool is because you get to network and engage with prospective customers en masse. If you are, say, a speaker, let's just use a local event at a Chamber of Commerce event, and say there's 60 people that come to that chamber event in your local community. You as the speaker are immediately viewed as the expert. Anybody who stands at the microphone is immediately viewed as the expert. And so you get to showcase what you do and how you do it and what you believe is great about your service, your product, your perspective on a certain way to approach a problem. You get to do that with 60 people all at the same time. If you waited until the following week and went to the chamber mixer that was happening at some local business, you wouldn't be able to engage with 60 people in that meaningful way in that one evening. It's just not possible. So using public speaking and allowing your expertise to come forward from the stage is super important. And what it also allows you to do is to tell stories. It allows you to tell your story, your journey as a business person. It allows you to tell the stories of your past customers or current customers and the successes that you've helped them achieve. It allows you to tell the story of what might be going on in the industry or space that you work in. If let's say you're an interior designer and you can tell the story of what changes are happening in interior design right now. Story it sounds sometimes sounds a little mysterious as well to people, but story is it's really simple. The three basic elements of story are a beginning, a middle, and an end. And in the midst of that, there's a hero that helps someone who needs to get to a certain place. And so if you can compose the comments that you have to make from the stage with a beginning, a middle, and an end, and allow yourself to be the hero of that story, you're going to help your audience get to a new place within the story. You're doing it. That's the basic framework of a story-based speech. And I love being able to help people frame out their story. And if you're working on trying to frame out your story, think about, okay, I've got 30 minutes. What's the beginning of the story? What's the middle of the story? What's the end state? Using those three buckets, I think you could probably compose something that would be really meaningful to an audience and give you some confidence as you step to the stage.
And I think one of the hurdles we have to overcome in order to do that is kind of losing the thought that we're just up there selling, and really embrace the storytelling.
Mm-hmm. I think that's so true. To embrace the storytelling and to see yourself as the hero. You know, a hero is not in it for himself. A hero is about helping people get to someplace, to get them out of a problem, to get them out of a difficult situation. Even if the difficult situation, to stick with our interior designer analogy or example, even if the difficult story is how to pick the right draperies, it's a difficulty, it's a challenge, and you as the hero are there to help. And so what I always like to do is encourage anyone is to give people the best information, the best knowledge about what it is they want to know, whether they work with you or not. They may pick a different interior designer, but you have given them the very best information they need to make the very best possible choice. And I would contend that when you do that, when you come at it from the place of helping and serving people, that 9 times out of 10, you will be the choice, because every person can discern genuineness. And if that's your genuine heart, is to help people make the best possible choice for their life, their business, their decision, then that will come through. And more often than not, you will be that choice.
Yeah, and you know, we've heard it said that people really believe, you know, they connect with the way you make them feel.
Absolutely.
So story connects at an emotional level, whereas like the selling or just getting up and giving information, that connects more on an intellectual level. It's more in the, you know, it's more of a cognitive exercise. It's just information. It's you know, something passes from point A to point B. There's no emotion tied to it. So the storytelling connects with really that piece that's going to be the part that makes you rise up above maybe some other resources that they've consulted.
It's absolutely true. And I think that, you know, at some point there has to be, you know, if you've walked someone through the story and they get to the end and they're needing to make a decision, at some point you are going to have to talk about things like, how much is something going to cost? How long is something going to take? You will have to get into the business of the sale. But it's so much easier to do when you've built a relationship with someone through telling them a story, by making sure that they have a feeling or a sense of confidence that you care about them and not just about the check they're going to write you.
Right. So if I'm a business owner and okay, now I realize, okay, I do have a story I can share. Maybe I know now what to say, but I'm not sure now how to take it beyond an idea and make it into an actual connection with people. How do I do that?
Well, there are a couple things, and I would look for opportunities to practice. You would be amazed at how many opportunities there are to practice in just random places. I am notorious for testing out ideas when I'm in line at the coffee shop or in line at the grocery store, and just strike up a conversation with someone. And invariably, you'll be able to kind of guide the conversation, or it just comes up. So what do? I will use that as an opportunity to kind of test things, because that gives me a chance to practice, and they don't need to know that I'm practicing.
Right.
I'll use my family and friends, and I'll ask them, like, can I just get you all together? Can you give me 10 minutes? Can you just listen and give me some feedback on what I'm sharing? Once you've kind of got it worked out and you've got some confidence under your belt with your story, then you've got to really start to look for places that you can ask to come in front of an audience to speak about your story, to come and share your story, to offer guidance. Those are the things that you want to do. And I love local chamber events. I'm going to be speaking hopefully in the spring or summer at a chamber event in my local area. I love service clubs. I love any place that people are gathering that needs speakers to come and bring something of value and worth. And that's, again, that's going to drive how we shape our story. What are we bringing that has value and worth? Once you get beyond that and you're beyond your local area, look at your industry. What conferences or events does your industry host that you can apply to be a speaker at? I'm going to be speaking in the springtime at a Christian writers conference. And I'm going to be sharing with them about how to use public speaking to build connection with readers. That's a place where I'm looking to share a lot of knowledge. I'm hoping they'll be interested in my book. They might be interested in some coaching, but at the minimum, I know I want to give them something valuable. So what conferences do your potential customers go to learn, to engage in? Where do they go, and how are speakers picked for those events? That's what you want to research, and then you want to go through the process that event lays out to apply to be a speaker, and see if you can get yourself a spot on the agenda.
Yeah, and it's not just the big, there's the big stage at those events, and then there are often smaller stages.
Absolutely.
There are workshops. There are all those count as public speaking podcasts. I've heard you even say this too on your group on Facebook, that podcasting is a form of public speaking. So,
it absolutely is. And one of the other things that I love, and I'm sure, Kay, you've heard me talk about this as well, is that we live in a world where really you can get an audience almost anytime you want. Facebook Live, YouTube's live streaming, there are many opportunities for you to decide, you know what, I'm gonna do a live, I'm gonna give a speech today. And you can go on Facebook and go live and give your, you may not want to give a 30-minute speech on a Facebook Live, but you can certainly do 10 minutes. You can certainly do 15 minutes. You can do 5 minutes. You can start small. But this is the world that we live in today, really allows us to have an audience almost anytime we want. And I love that. I love that for speakers. I love that Facebook Live is a place where you can go to practice. And if you don't feel real great about how it turned out, you can delete it and start over.
That's always a good thing to have.
Exactly.
Well, kind of, there are some fears that people, I think even public speaking, sometimes when you even just say those two words together, people kind of tense up.
Yep.
I never realized what a gift it was to be able to be fairly comfortable in front of a crowd until a friend of mine needed to make a speech and came over to my house and said, I just need you to help me practice and practice and practice this thing. And I realized then, I was like, I don't have, I want to prepare, but I don't have the fear. And realized that that's a gift. Maybe that's a sign that I should be out doing some more, but I think even when you are nervous about it, finding out and facing those fears, you talk about fears that every entrepreneur faces in what they're doing, and this can be a lot of things, not just the public speaking, but there's something that can help people overcome that.
Absolutely. And I do want to jump into that, but that whole idea of fear and nerves for the public speaker, I just want to give a couple quick tips for your listeners on that. So there's a difference between fear and nerves. Fear is something where we have fear because we're afraid of what is unknown. We're afraid of what might happen, and we don't know what's going to happen. So we're afraid. And the best way to deal with the fear of the unknown is to make it known. So you deal with your fears of public speaking by speaking more, getting some practice, little bits at a time, speaking more, taking the fear of the unknown out of it. Nerves, on the other hand, are about a little too much adrenaline about what could happen while you're actually on stage. Will I forget my speech? Will this happen? Will that happen? And what I like to do in a public speaking environment is I'll get to the space where I'm speaking early, and I'll introduce myself to the audience as they're coming in. And I'll say hello and I'll learn their names. I make some friends, immediate friends. And then when I get to the mic, I look at the people that I've just met, because now they're my friends and I don't have to be nervous about it. And that tends to bring the nervousness down, and I can feel a little bit more confident, get my role going, and then everything tends to work out fine. So a little tips on that, on just the specific to public speaking. But I do think that every entrepreneur kind of has to confront fear. And, you know, for me, I've been an entrepreneur and self-employed for 25 years, and it has not always been easy. I've always been glad that I've had my faith to rely on. It has not always, I haven't always relied on it as deeply as I would have liked, but it's always been important to me that my faith in Christ has been there to support me through it. So for those in our audience that call on the name of Christ and have that as part of their life, that it is their life. The one thing that we need to rely on as fear jumps up and tries to steal the joy of building our businesses away from us, is that we have to remember that someone greater than ourselves is helping us to build what we're doing. It's so easy for us to get caught up in what might happen. And our fear really is that our businesses are going to crash and burn, and we will somehow end up homeless on the street. That was always my big fear. It's like, this is all my clients are going to leave, and I will have no income, and I'm going to be homeless on the street. And that's a natural thing to be afraid of. And what it does, it causes us to overwork out of fear. We tend to work more and more because we're terrified that our clients are going to leave, right?
That's what entrepreneurs are famous for.
We're famous for overworking. We have to believe, and we have to commit to the belief that God is on our side, that Jesus walks with us, and that He is at work in building our business, that He brings those opportunities, that He will bring clients, that He will bring business. Our job is to take care of those opportunities, to rise to those opportunities, to take care of customers, to work faithfully, to serve our customers, to do all of those good things that are built into our Christian character. We're to take care of them in that way. But we have to believe and we have to trust that He is at work in our lives and that He is at work in our businesses. There are two scriptures that I rely on when things feel a little freaky and I'm feeling a little afraid. One of them is Joshua 1:5. And this is God speaking to Joshua as he's getting ready to move the people into the promised land, which was going to be a very hard job. It was going to be a hard thing to do. And God says to him, "No man shall be able to stand before you all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will not leave you nor forsake you." And I love to remember that I am like Joshua, and I'm trying to take something that God has for me, that He's promised to me. Right. And I have got to be able to push forward. And I have to trust that as God was with Moses, that He will be with me. Yeah. And when I rely on that can calm down that fear and allow me to move forward and do the things I need to do. The other scripture is in 2 Peter, it's verse 3, chapter 1, verse 3. And it talks about the fact that God has given us everything we need for life and godliness.
Yes.
It means I have all the tools I need. I have all of the skills I need. He has given them to me to do this business, to build this life. He has given me everything I need. I just have to look at the tools. I just have to stay in prayer. I just have to rely on Him because I have the tools and the skills He's given me. Those two things for me are so important for the entrepreneur, for the Christian entrepreneur to rely on, because it's so easy to fall back into the fear. So easy. Yeah. And then we end up just as stressed out as the rest of the world. And we should not be that.
Right. No, that's good. That's very good. And those two verses I love the one with Moses and
it's awesome.
Joshua. Yeah. And because He's the same God. He's the God of the Bible. And again, and really to be in the Word and to strengthen yourself with that, can't say I don't have time for that, because that's one of the important things that you can build on as well. Even, yes, it does have something to do with your business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to, I have to say there truly been times in my business that have grown my faith in ways that even other life circumstances have not, because it is truly a dependence on the Lord to bring something about a set of circumstances, or to deliver me out of a set of circumstances. In my 25 years, I've had two distinct periods where I had no business. I had no clients, and I had no idea what was going to happen. In one of them, I came within 1 month of exhausting all of my financial resources, and I had no idea what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And the Lord challenged me to trust and believe him that he would bring what was needed to provide for me. Our work is his provision for us. And I had to stand still and trust and believe. And I saw him work in a way that was very powerful. And so even all these years later, I still have those moments. I still have to push fears away. And I think that's true for every entrepreneur. We still have to push fear away. And so it's important that we stay grounded in the word, and to have those scriptures that we can nope, this is what's true. I see what's happening around me. And yes, it's real, but he is true. And truth never changes. And that's so critically important for all of us to be able to stand on the truth that never changes.
Absolutely. I'm going to head back into the public speaking part of it. And you wrote a book about that. You co-authored a book. Tell us about the book. What's in it? Kind of what's the key there? What are you talking about in it?
So I did co-author a book called Get Picked: Tips, Tricks, and Tools for Creating an Irresistible Speaker Proposal. And it came out of about probably 15 years of experience working with my co-author of writing and creating speaker content for our corporate clients. He and I have worked together for many years, and we have some, we're very blessed with some large corporate clients that trust us to create their speaker content. And about probably, I'd say 3 years ago, we had done some great work, and it all of a sudden occurred to me, I'm like, I think we've got a book here. I think we can help other people learn how to do this same thing. We developed a bit of a process, some great kind of best practices that we were using with every speaker proposal we created for our corporate clients, and they were successful. We were achieving some great success for them. So everything that's in the book comes out of all of that experience and everything that we've done for our clients for many years. And we were able to break down the process of creating a great speaker proposal into basically five best practice pillars that if you can achieve most of these in creating a proposal, you stand a really good chance of standing out from the crowd and getting picked to speak at a conference, to be invited to speak at a chamber event, to drawing an audience to say even your Facebook Live video, if you can use these things, these 5 things. So I'll go ahead and quickly just run them down so that your audience will have them. So first thing you want to have is a hot topic. You want to be very clear about your audience and what are the topics that matter to them. What are the problems that they struggle with? What questions are they looking to get answered? That's your hot topic. Then you want to make sure that once you've got that settled, is what's the title of this speech going to be? You start, quote unquote, selling your speech with the title. So you want to have a great title that really sells what you're doing. If you go to a conference and you go through pages and pages of sessions that you can attend, the ones that really attract your eye are the ones with the great titles. So you want to, have a great title. As you're kind of composing that session description, the description of your speech, you want to bring those elements of story. You want to give an idea of what is the story that's going to be told. And again, we talked about this earlier. Story has a beginning, middle, and an end. And in that paragraph of maybe 150, maybe 200 words max, that's what you're shooting for, is a great story, description of the story that they're going to hear. And within those words, fourth thing is talking about the journey that the audience will go on. They may have this problem at the beginning, but after having spent 45 minutes with you, they're going to have this solution. What's the journey that they're going to be, that they will have gone on? And then lastly, you want to give a little bit in the description as to why you are the person that should be giving this presentation. And we call it tooting your own horn a little bit. Do you have 25 years experience in doing something? Have you achieved $1 million savings for your company? Have you gone on 50 mission trips? Whatever credibility factors you have, you want to include those as part of the reason as to why you should be picked. And there's a fine line between talking about your credentials and bragging on yourself.
Right.
It should be a small part of that paragraph, but it should be there because it gives the evidence as to why you should be up there giving that speech.
Right there. Those are tips everybody can write. I hope you guys were taking notes so that you come back to the show notes later and pick up the book, because it really is a good book. I've used it to shape some speeches, and it's a great tool. You have a kit, speaker proposal kit, that's available on your website. You have a couple of different resources available.
I do, and one of the newer ones is I call them the stress-busting speaker templates, because one of the things that if you're applying to, say, speak at a conference, oftentimes they will give you what it is, the framework of what it is that they want you to send them. But other times you might be pitching a conference cold, or you might be pitching your chamber, or you're just having a conversation with an event planner maybe, and they say, wow, that sounds great. Send me a proposal. And for newer speakers, if you don't do this very often, the first thing that goes into your head is like, oh my gosh, what goes in a speaker proposal? What does that look like?
Yeah.
What am I supposed to, what are the pieces? What are the pieces that make up the proposal? So what I created are 2 templates. One for just a straight speaker proposal for any kind of event, and the other is for pitching a professional development type of workshop, which has a couple different elements that you would want to include, and then some things that you leave out from the other proposal. And the other things that I've also included are 2 examples of a speaker proposal and a speaker development professional development proposal that I have used successfully to land speaking and professional development gigs. It's all of the copy, it's everything I used, it's all the words, it's all of my pricing, because sometimes you don't even know what to charge if there's an opportunity for a fee. I put that all in there, and all of that is put together in a template pack that you can get. It's a digital download, $19. Will solve a lot of problems for you if you're confused about what to put together.
Yeah, and if your time is worth anything at all, that $19 is a great savings over trying to Google that and find all that information and how to build that yourself and piece it together yourself. So
well, we started this conversation. We talked about the fact that I hate to see people struggle, and yes. I do. And so the idea that you would struggle as to how to even put the pieces together, I'm like, I don't want you to struggle with that part. Here are all the headers. Here's some directions on what should go where. Yeah. Now you just focus on making it great. You should not have to struggle on just assembling the document. So that was, something I'm really excited to be able to offer people, because I think it will truly end the stress and the struggle, make life a lot easier. That's what I'm about. Let's make life easy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's excellent. Okay, so Aurora, when we talk about public speaking or connecting with your audience through story in any way, you need to think about who those customers are. Who's your audience? So can you address that?
Absolutely. And this is one of those kind of foundational things that I think every public speaker, every entrepreneur needs to really address is, who is my speech for? Who is my business? Who's the customer for my business? Who's the audience? So often we want to make sure that we have the widest pool possible. So we say, oh, it's for everyone.
Right.
Well, if your speech or your business is for everyone, guess what? It's for no one. Yeah. Because then you're just kind of swinging stuff all over, hoping someone catches it. It's not practical to think that you can market to everyone. It's just not. Mm-hmm. So what you want to do is really hone in and define, who is my customer? Is it working moms who need some help with, figuring out how to get dinner on the table? Mm-hmm. And I've got a website or a business that develops meal plans. Okay, that's who my customer is. Mm-hmm. And then I need to think about, okay, what are all of the issues that person deals with? Is it time? What are their stressors? What are the things that they can never seem to get their arms around? What are their problems? Even the problems that you don't have a solution for. What are their challenges? The audience you're going to be speaking to, what are they bringing? What's the baggage they're bringing that they want to get answers to?
Mm-hmm.
Once you kind of have that kind of defined and make a good long list, do it with a paper and pen. What's the list of things that they're dealing with? From there, you can sort out, okay, which of their problems do I have a solution for? What can I help them with? And once you've got that clear, now you've got it boiled down to something very specific, very clear for yourself and for them. And then you can start building your speech, because you're going to address those 3 to 5 things that they struggle with. You can start developing marketing messages that make sense, that are going to connect with your audience. If you keep what you're doing very narrow, you stand a chance of being more excellent, of making that connection, of reaching the audience that you want. You would much rather have 100 people that connect with your message and actually buy your product than 1,000 people that don't get your message and maybe 3 or 4 might buy your product.
Right.
When you decide you want to be for everybody, you're going after the 1,000 and only 3 or 4 are going to make a purchase.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going after the 100, you stand a better chance of getting 90 of those to make a purchase. 90 of those people in your audience making a deep connection. Huge difference. You want quality over quantity. And you can make that happen by just investing the time in figuring out, who is this person? What are their problems? And what do I have that helps them solve at least some of them? In the marketing world, we call it developing your avatar. Mm-hmm. So just a fancy word for defining who this person is. Who is your target customer? On my website, there is a little worksheet guide that you can sign up for and get, that will walk you through those kinds of questions and give you some space to write things down. I'm a big believer that some things just have to be done with a pen and a piece of paper. So I'm going to go to my website, auroragregory.com. You can sign up and get that little guide, and it will help you greatly. You'll feel a lot more confident about knowing who your customer is and knowing what it is that you have to share with them to make their lives easier, and by natural extension, get them to make a purchase of something that you have that is of genuine value.
Mm-hmm. And when you've identified your audience, and then you get the opportunity to speak, and you have all these solutions, maybe you have 10 services that you provide. Mm-hmm. Now, when I have the opportunity to speak, how many of those services or solutions should I be bringing up in one speech?
One of the things that I think is important is that your speech should not be laden with every product that you offer. Okay, there was a point of credibility that brought you to the stage. So I'll use myself as an example. Mm-hmm. My point of credibility that brings me to most stages, at least in the last year, was the fact that I co-authored this book. Mm-hmm. And so I'll say at the beginning of my speech, as I introduce myself and give them some exposure to who I am, is that I'm the co-author of this book. It's available on Amazon, and I'll have some copies available afterwards if you'd like to connect. Mm-hmm. I'll go through my speech, and then I'll bring it up again at the end, that I'm available. I do have copies of my book if you'd be interested, but at the minimum, I would love to connect with you, come back to the table and say hello. At the minimum, please, I'd love to meet you. You need to, and in a speech situation, you want that audience to know that you are there to serve them, whether they spend $15 on your book or not. But invariably, what will happen is, if you've done your job from the stage, they don't just want to have the handwritten notes that they took. Mm-hmm. They want to take a piece of you with them. And that purchase will happen very naturally. I had a situation that worked out just like that at a speech I gave in November. I was able to sell 50 copies of the book while I was there. I collected 75 names from my email list. I had wonderful opportunities to do some coaching with people, have reached out to do some coaching. Great. It was a little bit more than just beyond the book, but all that I talked about was the book. They didn't know I didn't talk about coaching or anything else from the stage. So be very thoughtful about that. Remember that your goal from the stage is to serve and to educate. If they don't buy anything, they should take away something that will make a difference for them, what will solve at least part of the problem that they deal with.
Yeah. And it's making that connection.
Absolutely.
I love that. Come back to the table and say hello.
Yeah,
There's
absolutely.
a low barrier to entry there.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And they want to know that you're there to say hello to them, that you genuinely
Mhm.
want to, and that you're not there with your square on your phone ready to swipe their ATM card for your
Right.
book, even though you're glad to do that. Another speaker tip for something like that is, take an assistant or a friend with you.
Yes.
Let them handle swiping the cards and selling books for you.
Yeah.
Let them do that so that you can engage with the audience. I did that. I have a friend who comes with me. She's wonderful. She knows all about what to do, and then she takes care of that. And then all I have to do is worry about engaging, answering people's questions, encouraging them. If someone bought a book and they want me to sign it, she makes sure that they get to me so that I can sign it for them.
Mhm.
And that should be true for whatever product you have. You may not have a book, you may not be an author yet,
Right.
but you may have something that's available, and anyone can and should stand at the table, have a place where people can find them to say hello and connect.
Yeah. And, just that the way you position yourself, we talked about for encouragement, we talked about for connection, but also, not having to juggle things that other people could be doing,
Exactly.
um, even before the speech.
Hmm.
Too, because if you have exhausted yourself before you get up on the stage, it's going to show.
It absolutely will.
I had a cause that I was very passionate about, still am, but we had an event, and 5 minutes before the event starts, I'm still setting up tables, I'm still
Oh, yeah,
carrying
no.
things in and out of the car. Okay, so if you're selling books, that means you're carrying books. Another
That's right.
reason to have a friend is
Yep.
boxes of books are heavy,
Yes.
and it will you won't notice it happening. But come time to, now you've had kind of a quiet time while the other speakers are speaking,
Hmm.
while other things are going on,
Hmm.
and the tired has started to set in, and then you've got to try and get yourself back up and get that energy to speech and to speak. And I know one event where I did all that. I was doing all the setup stuff, and gave the same talk I would normally give. And a friend that was there said, "What happened? You're
Yeah.
usually so passionate about that." But it was
Yeah.
not interpreted as you're tired. It was you're not passionate about this
Right.
cause, which
Right.
the whole reason that I was there was, to share that passion. Well,
Exactly.
the passion didn't show up. Why? Because I was doing the other stuff before the speech. So just a cautionary tale.
It's such a good point, Kay. And the extension of that is make sure you bring the right friend. We
Yes.
love all our friends, but not all of our friends are the right friend to bring to this. You've got to have a friend who's willing to schlep books for you,
Yes.
who can see, okay, I need to get her water, who will be totally fine swiping people's card, like
Mhm.
that you need that the right friend.
Yes.
Some of our friends are just cheerleaders. You
Mhm.
need to bring your worker bee friend.
Yeah. Yes. And they have to smile after schlepping the books and everything,
Exactly.
customer service oriented and represent.
Exactly.
They're
Exactly.
representing your whole business or whatever you are bringing to the table. They are representing all of that. So
Exactly. So choose the right friend.
absolutely. Well, Aurora, you've got a wealth of insight and experience. For everybody listening, we've got the links are going to be in the show notes. You can connect with Aurora at auroragregory.com, and then on Facebook. Are you on Twitter
I
too?
am on Twitter at Aurora Gregory. You can find me there. Instagram is Aurora_Gregory. So yeah, look for me. I'd love to connect with your listeners. And if there are questions I can answer, feel free to reach out. I'd love to see if I can help you further.
Yeah, and I would say from experience, do download those resources from her website. Stay in touch with her. She's just always posting good material, and she serves us well. So
You just made my day. Thank you so much, Kay.
well, Aurora, I've enjoyed talking with you. I do thank you for joining us.
It's been great. Thank you so much for inviting me. All the best. Blessings to you and your audience.
Thanks. This has been the Your Voice Podcast. Make sure you check out the show notes at yourvoicepodcast.com. All the links, like we said, are Everything we talked about is right there in the show notes. Please consider leaving a review on iTunes or wherever you listen to the podcast, and that will help other people find the show, and that helps every one of us. I'm Kay Helm. Until next time, this is the Your Voice Podcast. Find your voice, tell your story, change the world. Thanks for listening.